the National Breast Cancer Foundation, we fund research into all different types of the area of breast cancer. So we don't provide screening through our foundation at all. But from what we know, mammography is not that invasive. We don't feel. We think it's a really good screening tool. It can be mildly uncomfortable for women. I guess you're getting your breast squashed between two big metal plates, so that's not great. But in terms of, I wouldn't call it an invasive screening process, and it's, it's definitely a lot less uncomfortable than, say, a pap smear, for example, which detects cervical cancer. So I would have to say that I don't think it's invasive at all.
Do you know if there's any research being conducted to find a different and perhaps more effective way to screen for breast cancer?
There are lots of research. There is lots of research going on, in that area, because the other thing to consider is that mammograms are generally only good at picking up cancer in women, say, over 50, when their breast tissue has lost some of its density. If you imagine a breast that comes up in an x-ray or something, it's full of white tissue, and that's the breast tissue, but cancer is also white. So if you've got, say, a 30-year-old breast, that's going to have a lot of density still, because it's still quite firm. So as you get older, it loses that density, and then you can see the cancer a bit better.
Okay.
So we're funding research into a breath test in Western Australia at the moment that can detect cancer. I'll give you some more reading on that later, but basically, I can't explain the technology, but I've been described. It's like a breath test for alcohol, but it will pick up changes in your cells that can say, we've seen some cell changes here, you might want to get further testing. But and at the moment as well, a good screening test is just your own hands. You're doing your own checkups. That is a really effective screening tool as well. We're also working on a blood test in New South Wales that will detect recurrent cancer. So that's if you've already had cancer. It will pick up if the changes, because it's a real concern if you've already had breast cancer. If you get secondary cancer, you've got a higher mortality rate, so that's a bit stressful. So we're looking at other ways of, can we detect it earlier and all that kind of thing. So yeah, there's a lot of research going on, but mammography at the moment is definitely sort of the best way for women in the high risk category, which is over 50, to get tested. The breath test, I think, is at clinical trial stage. So that means that we've given Dr. Christabel Saunders in Western Australia, we've given her money for a pilot study, which is usually quite small, say maybe 100 women or so, and then she has to go find more funding to make it a national study and come back with some more findings. So research, it's a very slow process. So you've got the 2-year initial study, and then if you get good results from that, then you go, okay, I want to get more funding and take it to a wider study so I can have some national results. And then you have to get more funding again to, say, put something into practice that will, be taken out to the wider population. So it is a really long process, but at the NBCF, where we try and raise as much funds as we can for research, because we think the more money that goes into these projects, the faster results that we can have, the more we can see these changes. And you just if you look at breast cancer over the years, just the amount of options and different diagnostic tools and treatments that are available now compared to women, even 20 years ago is insane. Like, you just saw women who would have to have radical mastectomies for, treatable breast cancer, which is that's an invasive process. It's such a full-on thing. Here we're really looking at, if we can prevent it, it's better than curing it. So we're kind of doing that research we feel that's really important, to kind of stop it there rather than treating it when it's already there, if that makes sense. So I think we've done a lot of work in letting women know that mammography is the best way to, it might not be the most comfortable way always, and you might feel a little bit reluctant to, take your top off in front of a doctor, but it's one of those necessary health things that we really do encourage when we've spent a lot of time working with CALD communities as well, like culturally and linguistically diverse communities, to help them get over their fears associated with, going to a doctor and getting a mammogram. And we work with Breast Screen Victoria in promoting that message. But we don't think it's that much of an invasive screening process.